Welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to do a semiconductor update for all you semiconductor investors. In today's episode, we're going to look at the following. First, we're going to look at the earthquake in Taiwan and what it means for the future of semiconductor manufacturing. Second, United States is making AI chip regulations even stricter, what this means for Nvidia. Third, Intel Foundry business reported a huge loss. And finally, we're going to close out the episode with some updates on AMD, their new CPU, and kind of discussions of the AI PC market. So let's get started with today's episode.
I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for the subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode.
All right, so let's start off with the first part of today's episode. It's going to be the earthquake that impacted Taiwan. Earthquake hit the island of Taiwan. And for those that are not familiar, Taiwan is where most advanced chips are built right now. So if you were a semiconductor investor, hopefully the first thing you thought about was, I hope everybody is okay. But probably the second thing you thought about was, what does this mean for the manufacturing of AI chips? Luckily, for the second part, we did hear that most of the damage, there was very minimal damage, and most places are expected to go back to operation after a few kind of inspection of tools. We can see here in certain reports here that Taiwan chip supply chain likely to resume normal operations in one day amid strongest earthquake in 25 years. We also see this report that TSMC resumes chip production following biggest earthquake in 25 years, incurred no damage to its critical tools. The other thing we did see is kind of the suspension of constructions to some of the TSMC fabs. So right now, it seems that semiconductor investors should not really worry much about this overall earthquake, but I do believe it brings light to a topic that has been discussed many times here in the semiconductor space. Before we go any further, I just want to say thank you all for the amazing support we are getting in this channel. We're closing into 40,000 subs. That is insane. So if you haven't and you are enjoying the content, make sure to hit the thumbs up and the subscribe button. Finally, if you want to support this channel a little bit more, check out my special offer at fool.com/Jose. Now back to today's episode. So previously, we're seeing that right now there's too much dependency in chip manufacturing in Taiwan. So this is going to continue to bring out where we're going to see investments come out all over the world, where they're going to want to build their own type of manufacturing plants or to reduce the dependency of something like this happening. So this is one of the reasons I say the market always can give us buying opportunities, because in a scenario where this would have really halted production of chips for multiple weeks, for let's say even a month, it could really have destroyed a lot of the semiconductor stocks. So that's always a risk. The next topic I have here is there are reports that Nvidia is going to most likely get some of their chips blocked by the United States. So there are reports that the United States is going to include some more or reduce the amount of performance that you need to have to ship a chip to China. So they're reducing it to 70 teraflops. And here that's going to impact the GeForce RTX 4090D. For those that are not familiar, the 4090D was a 4090 variant that NVIDIA created to be able to bypass regulations. But it seems like the United States will say, look, that's not going to fly by here. We're going to reduce it where you can't even send the 4090D to China. The other chip that it could impact is the H20 AI GPU. The H20 seems to be more of like a weak down version of the H100, even a weaker down version of the H800. So again, these restrictions are going to continue to go in place and expected to go sometime next week. So this is obviously a big risk to NVIDIA, is if the United States government continues to move this bar lower and lower. And who knows, maybe in the future, this market is going to be non-existent for NVIDIA. Luckily for NVIDIA, we have heard in their earnings call that the demand for AI chips is so high everywhere that even though last quarter, their revenue from China was almost non-existent, they still grew at crazy, crazy levels. Now, the third thing I want to take a closer look at today is Intel Foundry. So if we take a closer look at Intel stock, the stock dropped nearly 8% as I am recording today's episode. And I should have released an episode a few hours ago going a little bit more in depth of what happened. So what ended up happening with Intel is yesterday, Intel hosted an event where they talked about their new financial structuring program. In this new financial structuring program, Intel is going to be showcasing the actual numbers of their foundry business, both from internal and external customers. So with this new segment, Intel reported a loss of $7 billion in their foundry business. And they expect to continue to lose even more money in 2024, which really caused the stock price to drop down. So investors, when they saw that huge loss, they really kind of got worried about the overall stock. But I kind of discuss it more in that overall episode. Make sure to check it out. But just on the top level overview, Intel did not lose new money. The way that they used to report their financials before, that loss was kind of spread out into different segments. Now Intel just wants to really showcase their foundry business and their Intel product business. So they're showcasing the number, and now investors are starting to see. But the $7 billion loss was always there. It's not like the company lost more money. It's not like this changed their cash flow. It's not like it changed their overall net income. They just changed the way they were reporting the segment. So that's why I believe this was extremely overblown. But I take a closer look at that in the other episodes, so make sure to check that out. Now, the final thing I want to take a closer look at is AMD. So AMD launched their new Ryzen Embedded 8000 processors, which include an NPU. And for those that are not familiar, an NPU is just an extra chip that helps with AI workloads. So the embedded solution is usually meant for kind of industrial workloads and industrial computers, which need some form of they have like more regulations of what go into these laptops compared to like your consumer. Like they can't break so easily, they can't have too many errors. And now this AI solution is being added, and it's going to help industrial AI applications, including things like machine vision, robotics, and industrial automation. Outside of that, AMD also talked about their AI PC, and they were comparing their overall AI PC to Intel. So right now we're definitely getting into this battle of the AI PC market, and I do believe that's going to continue for at least the next few years. AMD's Ryzen AI laptop has better AI performance capabilities. It has lower power usage, is cheaper, and tends to have better screen as well. So right now, it's definitely a nice battle here going in the client consumer market in forms of the AI PC space. And it seems like AMD is definitely going to fight, and they do have a nice amount of leadership in this space. So if you are an AMD investor, you might be pretty excited about that. So I just want to take a closer look at AMD stock before I end the episode. AMD stock ended the day up roughly 1%, sitting at $180. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode, a nice quick update of what's happening within the semiconductor space. Take care, have a good day, and see you all next time.